Welcome into OutKick the show. I'm your fearless leader, Clay Travis. It's been a crazy week. First day of August. A little bit of housekeeping here. If you've been wondering where the show is, I've been on the road. A lot of different things going on, all positive. I was supposed to leave for Israel tomorrow. I was going to do the Clay and Buck show from Israel for all of next week, tour all the terror sites, see all of those locations. Our trip has been canceled because even El Al, which is the official airline of Israel, and we were told at the time, book with them, they never cancel. Even they have canceled our flight, which was scheduled to take off tomorrow, which speaks to how utterly scary things are on the ground in Israel right now. So it's likely the case that awful violence is coming, similar to the violence maybe that we saw on October 7th. And I do want to go to Israel, but we can't get there right now. The timing on this has ended up being to such an extent that that even the Israeli airlines won't go. And so I'm not sure when we're going to go. I will go. I will go there at some point, just FYI. The end result here means that I'm going to be at home and that I'll probably be doing OutKick shows tomorrow and all next week because I won't actually be on the road in Israel like I anticipated doing the show from there. A little bit of housekeeping, just FYI. Everybody can keep that in mind. I just finished Clay and Buck. President Trump came on with me, and I can't believe this is the world we live in right now, but he pledged that he would not allow men to compete against women. If you woke up this morning and you are a sports fan, you likely have seen a video of a man who is identifying as a woman being able to compete in women's athletics. And that man was beating the crap out of a woman from Italy, and she withdrew from the fight 46 seconds in and basically said that she knows the difference between being punched by a woman and being punched by a man, and this was not that. As a result, this happened on the same day that Title IX, which has essentially led to equal scholarships for women's athletes, among many other things, but for a sports perspective, has been rewritten by the Joe Biden, Kamala Harris team to now encompass gender identity. What that means in a really sort of basic manner is it used to be Title IX was defined from a biological perspective, men and women. What is going on here is now what you identify as is seen as your legitimate biology. So what occurred in the Olympics is going to be happening in more and more sports. That is, men who identify as women are going to be beating the crap out of women, either directly, as occurred in this boxing match, or as has happened with our friend Riley Gaines at OutKick in NCAA swimming, or many different high school sports out there across America, as well as college sports, even some professional sports. It's ridiculous, okay? I never would have believed when I started my media career in 2004, what is that, 20 years ago, that there would ever be a point in time where I'd be interviewing the potential former president and I think likely next president of the United States, and he would make a pledge, hey, we're not going to allow women to have to compete against men. I think a lot of you out there are blown away that this is the reality in which we live as well. So Trump has pledged that he will not allow men to compete against women. He will reverse these Title IX regulations when or if he is elected president of the United States in a few months and is sworn into office in January. Kamala Harris has still not said anything at all. And this ties in. OutKick's Dan Zakshesky has reached out to the Kamala Harris campaign to say, hey, are you going to continue to support, in light of this video of a man beating up a woman in the Olympics, are you going to continue to support this being allowed in America and, frankly, supported around the world? Kamala Harris's campaign hasn't responded. And what I would say in general is this ties in with what happened when OutKick's Dan Zakshesky asked of the South Carolina women's basketball coach, Dawn Staley, do you believe that a man should be able to identify as a woman and compete in women's college basketball? She said yes. We then asked, OutKick did, the 15 other women's basketball coaches that advanced to the women's basketball Sweet 16. That is the final best 16 teams in theory in all of women's college basketball last year. None of the 15 responded. This is where cowardice leads. When people are refusing to acknowledge biological reality and basic human truth because they're afraid of what others might say about them, we have moved into a very dark and dangerous time in American and world history, but in America in particular. OutKick has been for years now one of the only outlets in all of America that covers sports that will even write about these issues. I want to give credit to a couple of employees at ESPN. Sage Steele used to be. She got fired basically because she was speaking out. Sam Ponder has spoken out. Adam, you can let me know if there are other individuals inside of ESPN that have been willing to speak out. One guy did today, and I think he deserves immense credit. Pat McAfee. He just said this is wrong. That's all you have to say. I feel bad that anyone is so uncomfortable in their body that they would chop off their genitals. That's scary. Your brain has to be in an awful place for you to think the only way I can be happy is if I have different genitals or I don't have the genitals right now that I have. Baseline level, I actually feel awful. And if you're over the age of 18, and I've said this for a long time, and you think you'll be way happier if you change your gender, I think it's unlikely that that's going to be the case, personally. But I think as an adult, you should be able to make that decision. The idea that we've normalized kids getting puberty blockers or teenage girls getting their boobs chopped off as some form of decency and some form of normal medical treatment is a profound failure of Western civilization, period. And the fact that most people out there know this to be true, and yet most people won't say it, is, I think, how we've ended up in the broken world that we're in right now, and how our politics, to a large degree, have gotten broken. It shouldn't be remotely political that men should not compete against women in women's sports. I give credit to Riley Gaines, who I'm happy we have at OutKick. I give credit to J.K. Rowling. I give credit to Elon Musk. I saw Jake Paul speak out about this today. My friend Sean Merriman, former Charger, elite defensive player, spoke out against it. I saw Des Bryant speak out against it. Here's what's going on. I think men in particular are over this. White, black, Asian, Hispanic. Men recognize this is garbage. I think a lot of women are still being taken advantage of, but I think increasingly Riley Gaines and Paula Scanlon, and I've seen Megyn Kelly speaking out forcefully on this. I think that those women, certainly Tommy Lahren, who we employ at OutKick, who are incredibly eloquent, smart, brave, fearless, their speaking out has made a tremendous difference, but we're not there yet. And when we've created a world where a man can beat up a woman in the Olympics and it's considered to be a point of pride for women, and Kamala Harris won't condemn it, and the entire Democrat Party, by and large, argues that that trans women are real women, it's just not true. And men have responded and let it be known that they won't stand for this. But I do think that the failure that we're seeing is of such an epic magnitude that it's going to take a real battle to win and restore sanity in this respect. And so I want to make sure that I give credit. David Pollock's not at ESPN anymore, but he's spoken out on it. This is Adam is looking up a list of people who've been willing to speak the truth here. I think it's so important that we address this. So that's what happened this morning. That's what I woke up to. And I give credit to everyone speaking out on the side of truth and facts and biological reality. And people say, why do you care? I care for the same reason that I wouldn't support a 16-year-old playing 12U baseball. I care for the same reason that I wouldn't support a 250-pound boxer competing as a flyweight. I care for the same reason that I don't support steroids being used by some players in sports, because sports should be about the best man or best woman, and everybody should have to play by the same rules. I don't think that one side should get a 10-foot strike zone and the other side get a 6-inch strike zone in baseball. I believe that there should be fairness, and allowing men to compete against women is not fair. And Riley Gaines, I think, has spoken to this very eloquently, because it came face-to-face with her when she swam in the NCAA championships against a man. But she just pointed out on the radio show, these are men pretending to be women, changing in women's locker rooms. This is happening in your high school district. This is happening in your state. This is happening in your daughter or granddaughter's chosen sport. I don't think this is remotely political. Most issues of right and wrong, to me, shouldn't be political. Just like Hamas was wrong to attack Israel, I don't think that should be a political issue. I think as Americans, we should be able to see what occurs and agree on some instances of right and wrong. As I was just saying on the radio program, you and I can fight over what the corporate tax rate should be. You and I can fight over what the ideal personal income tax rate should be. And by fight, I mean debate in the public sphere. And one of us may win, but I don't think that what you believe the tax rate should be on corporations is necessarily indicative of you being a good or evil person. I think if you're going to say to me, you have to say something that I know to be untrue, that man is a woman or that woman is a man, and the best women's athlete is actually a man, I'm not willing to say it. And maybe that makes me rare, but I'm sorry. This is a big deal, because if you can get people to admit things that are untrue, again, that you're getting me to admit or anyone else to admit something that we know is untrue to be true, that's how totalitarianism begins. Once you admit untruth, then they know you will lie for them, and it's just a question of how many lies will you tell. Bunch of other different stories that are out there. I've got, by the way, Fox News coming up here in a few minutes. I'm trying to decide which stories I want to hit. Let me hit you with this. Where in the world is Kamala Harris? She's been the nominee now since, 11 days? I believe she's on her 11th day as being the Democrat Party nominee. She still has done nothing off of the teleprompter. And this ties in with Trump going to the National Association of Black Journalists. And he immediately got asked a question, oh, you're racist and sexist, and you ate dinner with a white supremacist. That was the opening question that he got. It's tougher than any question Kamala Harris will probably get in her entire political career. Why does the media expect that Trump will go talk to anyone on any forum, whether it's a CNN town hall or whether it's the NABJ, and they don't require Kamala Harris to go anywhere? And here, by the way, is what I wish Trump had said in response to that question. And I don't have teleprompters. You guys know this. I never have anything prepared in terms of reading from some sort of statement. I wish Trump had said in response to that question, how come you've never asked Kamala Harris? I've never seen an answer on this anyway. How did you take the vice presidency for a man you said was racist? Remember, that was Kamala Harris in the 2020 presidential campaign. She said Joe Biden was racist. I was that little girl on that bus. She came after Joe Biden for saying that he didn't want his kids to go to school in a racial jungle. That was a quote from Joe Biden. That's pretty racist, to be quite honest with you. I haven't ever really seen Kamala Harris called to account for that. If you think Joe Biden's so racist, how can you be his vice president? Never seen that question. I've never seen Joe Biden really pressed on when he said, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. I'm quoting him, paraphrasing. He also said that if he wasn't elected, to be put back into chains. Nobody that I've ever seen has really pushed back on that with Joe Biden. Those are just two easy examples of things where people have just made the choice that they're not going to aggressively get involved in that questioning. And so if you're going to hold Donald Trump to an insanely high standard in terms of what he is allowed to say and how you're going to question him on it, how come Kamala Harris never has that same standard? Kamala Harris has an open invite on Clay and Buck. You just heard Donald Trump come on. You certainly have got situations where we've offered Joe Biden to come on the show for years. It's never gone on. Can you think of Joe Biden ever being questioned and interviewed by someone who has been anywhere near as aggressive as what happened to Trump? And so my question for that is, does Trump get a benefit from that? Honest, just an honest question. The media demanded that Joe Biden have a press conference, that Joe Biden do sit-down interviews. 11 days, Kamala Harris hasn't come off the teleprompter once. They're going to try to hide her for the 100-day campaign like they tried to hide Biden in 2020. They don't believe that she can answer questions, even if she's getting softball questions from people who aren't otherwise holding her account for very much at all. So I do think that this is a big story that goes to the essence of what the job of a journalist is. The job of a journalist, in theory, is to speak truth to power, to hold those that are in incredibly powerful positions accountable for the things that they have said and the pledges that they have made. Is the media doing that to Kamala Harris? Have you seen anyone aggressively question Kamala Harris? She's now arguing for the exact opposite of much of what she said she supported throughout her political career. She wanted to defund the police. Now she wants to fund the police. She wanted to give full benefits to people who across the southern border. Now she says she had nothing to do with the border at all. She's the border czar. Now she says, oh, I'll fix things if I ever get the opportunity. Those are significant departures. She said she didn't want to allow fracking at all. Now she says, oh, you know what, we have to allow fracking. All of these things are adding up. And all of it has been going on for some time. And yet we haven't been able to get any kind of significant standard application of just the same standard to both. So open invite to Kamala Harris, open invite to Joe Biden. As always, we've invited Gavin Newsom. I'll travel anywhere. I'll sit down with them anywhere. We had RFK Jr. on the show. We've had Tulsi Gabbard on the show. Had every Republican presidential candidate, Trump on. I don't know. I probably interviewed Trump almost more times than anybody has. I wish Trump had answered by just pointing out how unfair the question is. He showed up and he was willing to do the interview. Kamala still remains hiding. Tomorrow I'll talk about the 9/11 plea deal. We'll also have some fun with what's going on with my 13 and 9-year-olds and the hole that they put in the wall. Be back tomorrow. I'm not going to Israel now, so I'll be back all next week with doing, in theory, shows here also. Appreciate all of you for all the support you show to OutKick. I'll ask you one more time, where would we be without OutKick? No one else will cover many of the stories that we cover at OutKick, ones that have to do with basic truth and fairness in the world of athletics. There's OutKick and no one else even touching this. Think about why that is. Think about what that says about trust in media and even truth in media. And we'll talk about some of that tomorrow as well. DBAP unless you need to SBAP. I am Clay Travis. This has been OutKick, the show.